Hey guys, welcome to 3 and Out. You can check out the podcast below in the description. And here's what I need you to do. Make sure you subscribe to the Volumes YouTube channel to stay up to date to everything we're doing here on 3 and Out and the Volume. Let's talk a little schedule. First and foremost, to me, there are going to be a lot of random games on Sunday. Whatever. I judge you and I judge the NFL on their opener, Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football, and this year, because Amazon's involved, what they were going to do on Thursday Night Football. Now, let's start with that Thursday night game. We've known it for a while, or I guess we've known it now for a couple days. Chiefs-Chargers, no-brainer. Throw Bezos a bone, Mahomes, Justin Herbert, off and running. Al Michaels, Herbstreit. If you haven't subscribed to Amazon Prime, you're either a whack job weirdo or you're living in a different world than me. But if you haven't, it might be time because no one's missing that game. I know it was one of the best games of the year last year. Those two guys playing in LA. And obviously the Chargers beat them in Kansas City early in the season. But it's clearly a really big deal. I mean, looking at the schedule of the games that Amazon got, there is some random matchups. I mean, there's a Jags-Jets in there. There's a football team, Chicago. You know, because every team has to play. So you can't just throw the Rams, the Bills, the Niners, and the Cowboys in several of those games. So you're going to have to mix and match. But I thought they did a pretty good job. There's a Ravens-Bucks. There's an Eagles-Texans, which isn't great. But then there's a Titans-Packers. There's a Bills-Patriots. So I think they look at the Thursday night game, which is the right mentality now, is it's football. We love to gamble. It's a scarcity sport. Put that bad boy on primetime. And it can be, Raiders-Chargers, Raiders-Rams, which is a fantastic LA West Coast game. Or it could be, Niners-Seattle, which used to be good, but Seattle's going to suck, and that's late in the season. Could be terrible. It doesn't really matter. We're going to watch high numbers, and the people that bitch and moaning that they don't have Amazon Prime, they'll have it by then, I'll promise. And then they'll realize, damn, I get free deliveries? Yeah, no shit. The opening game, like Thursday night, the true opener, that is an elite game. That's, to me, you could argue, you don't, because, listen, I didn't want to see Rams-Niners. That would probably be the best, just given the rivalry. But you don't want to blow, your wad right off the jump, right? So throw them an out-of-conference type game. Get them the best out-of-conference opponent. The Bills, no-brainer. Josh Allen, defending champs, SoFi Stadium, incredible. That is a fantastic, let me repeat, fantastic way to start the season. And, if you're the Rams, like, good luck defending. You get Josh Allen and the Bills. And if you're the Bills, like, you just lost an absolute one of the most gut-wrenching losses in the history of the league. You got 40 million people on their couches looking to watch that game and gambling on it. Let's go. I'm already excited for that game. And the thing is, when the schedule release comes, the season feels so far away. But as you get older, anyone in their 30s knows time flies. That week one game is going to be here before we know it. Sunday Night Football. This is, let's face it, Sunday Night Football is the number one show in America. Think about that. The number one show in America is Al and Chris. But now it's not Al and Chris, it's Tirico and Chris. And Tirico's a big game guy, right? He did Monday Night Football forever with John Gruden. So to me, you come out swinging in this game. The Cowboys would be my pick. I would want the Dallas Cowboys. And then you go, who's on their schedule? Who could the second best opponent be if we got Dallas? The Rams have already been used, and the Bills have already been used. Well, I would take Tom Brady over the Bills and the Rams. So you get the biggest brand in the league, the Cowboys, as a team, and then you get the biggest, most famous individual in the league, Tom Brady. You put it on Sunday night, and you let 50 million people watch. That is how it's done, folks. That's pretty easy. That game's pretty damn good. And then for Monday night, I give them credit on this one because Denver, last year, if you think about it, when Tom was going to return to New England, they had to be careful about where they put that game because they wanted it to be a really big deal. But the Patriots were just coming off a pretty rough season, right? With Cam Newton, they were 7-9. And then, when the schedule was being done right after the draft, we didn't know, the Patriots just acquired Mac Jones. You thought, they could be more competitive, but there's no guarantee. You can't risk putting that game late October, early November. The Patriots could have been out of it. So what did they do? They put it week 4, Sunday Night Football, and it worked, and it felt big. I remember watching it thinking, this is sweet. Well, this is different because Russell only won one Super Bowl, but he's the best player in the history of the franchise, and they just traded him. Now, he kind of demanded a trade. He'll never admit to that, but let's face it, he did, and Pete was cool with it. He capitulated because he was tired of him. It was a healthy divorce. I would say the majority of divorces, like there are the divorces where you get caught cheating on them or where you just come out of nowhere and say, I don't like you anymore. But I would imagine the percentage of divorces where you don't like me, I don't like you, let's go our separate ways, and it's not never as easy as that, is the majority of times people break up and get a divorce. Like, this is not working out. And that, to me, what Russell and Pete is. The problem is that Russell's still good, and Seattle and Pete don't really have a quarterback. They have Drew Lock, who he keeps telling us would have been drafted really high in this past draft, which maybe he would have 3 years ago, but it's 2022, buddy. I like coming out the gates with this game because I think, Seattle, they're going to be awful. I think there's a decent chance Seattle is competing to be the worst team in the league. Win 3 or 4 games because their quarterback play is going to be that shitty. So you get Russell Wilson going there, and it's an explosion. Their fans are fantastic. Well, when your team's bad on the West Coast, in any sport, Lakers, the Seattle, the Niners, the Dodgers, the Giants, mid-season, when you're out of it, people stop caring. Well, week 1 in football, everyone is alive. We all have the same record. So you get the best effort out of the 12s. You get an incredible just ovation for Russell. And you get a game that honestly could be one-sided, but at least that moment just carries us for that game. And you open up with Buck, Aikman, and it feels really big. Because while they don't do many Denver Bronco games, they're very, very comfortable with Russell Wilson, the player. They've been calling his games forever in Seattle. And they know Seattle like the back of their hand. They've been calling Seattle games for 8 straight years. So it's a beepy fastball for them, which feels pretty big. Now, as of recording this, I know because ABC and they're now in the Super Bowl mix that they're doing this doubleheader week 2. I don't really understand why you got to do that, right? Why you're doing 2 games on Monday Night Football week 2. I wouldn't necessarily have done that, but whatever. I'm not running these networks. I also think that for the first time in a while, because I've known Riddick for a long time, but that booth did not work. You can't have three men booths do not work. Hell, the majority of 2-men booths don't work because most analysts stink. They bore us. We always talk shit about them because they're not any good. They're very forgettable. The amount of even, people say what you want, like Troy Aikman and Chris Collinsworth are 2 of the better guys in the league by a wide margin. But like the historic guys like John Madden or John Gruden, there's not that many of them, right? So ESPN has been waiting a long time since John left them to just kind of get some credibility back. And I do believe, like ultimately Thursday Night Football, and they've had Fox, and they've had NFL Network. Like they've had a lot of different people call it over the years. I remember when I was in the NFL, I think Mike Mayock called the games. I do think Thursday Night Football, while it's become much more, I don't know if mainstream's the right way to put it, but just it's become normalized. Like we're just used to, but you can kind of put anyone. It's we've had all week. We're just kind of looking for Friday. The average guy's just getting ready for the weekend. You could have you calling the game, and we'd be cool with it. I do think Monday Night Football is a pretty big deal still. And maybe I'm a little nostalgic, but you build up all week, and then you have Sunday Night Football. Sunday night has been Al and Chris forever, and now it's Tarico and Chris. It always feels big. The matches were huge. And then we got to Monday night, and everyone's just texting their buddies how terrible the broadcast is. And then last year, they kind of got weird. They added the Manning cast, and it was bizarre for the broadcast. What I think is going to be fascinating for Monday Night Football this year is like Troy and Joe Buck are probably, it's 2 of the most successful, famous, long-tenured duos we've ever seen. Yet they have programming of the same game going against them on the same network. Like, now, clearly, if I'm Joe or Troy, Troy just got $19 million a year. So is he worried that Peyton Manning might steal 5 100,000 viewers or an extra million viewers? Maybe not. But we all got egos. We're all trying to kick ass and take names in whatever profession you're in at the highest level. If you have, any little bit of competitive juices to you. So it'll be interesting, how that dynamic is. And ultimately, I wonder if more people are just more inclined to just watch the Monday Night Football normal football broadcast with Buck and Aikman, right? Just because it's a high-level broadcast. The one thing with Peyton Manning, which I'm sure they'll look to improve, and I love Peyton and Eli. I went to them just because I like hanging out with them. I still will go to them. But, sometimes they'll have random people on and, the Wi-Fi will be off and they're asking each other questions, and it can just be a little herky-jerky. It can be kind of tough to consume. And, if you told me, week 1, Monday Night Football is Broncos-Seattle, I'm probably starting with Joe and Troy. Now, by the second half, if the Denver Broncos are up 24-3, and it's like, God, Seattle sucks. Yeah, then I'll go Peyton and Eli shooting the breeze with who knows, it could be like Tiger Woods and Aaron Rodgers. I don't know. I mean, they have pretty incredible guests. But I do think that Monday Night Football's main feed, which ultimately, in theory, should be their cash cow. I mean, it's what most people watches. It'll be interesting to push and pull between those two. Because like I said, Thursday Night Football, Herbstreit, now he's called NFL games before, and I'm a big Kirk Herbstreit guy. Like, I thought when he took the job that it was like, oh, he's done with, what's it called? College Game Day. He's not going to be, no, he's still doing all that stuff. So now it's much easier to learn the NFL teams like you're calling Steelers Browns. It's like Myles Garrett, Chase Claypool, TJ Watt, right? Nick Chubb, like Amari Cooper. So it's easier to learn the guys on NFL teams because you're going to know a lot of them than it is to learn like, oh, here's Penn State's new two deep. Like that's going to take some time. Penn State, Iowa. It's like, well, shit, I haven't called an Iowa game in 2 years. Who's on their team? But it's still going to wear you thin. I mean, that's a lot of learning to do. And if you're listening, you're like, God, it's just football. It's true, but you still got to, it takes a lot of time to study these teams, to know what you're talking about. His job is not just to call the game, it's to tell you what's going on. So I will be fascinated to watch Herbstreit just from a week-to-week standpoint. I mean, by week 4, it's like Dolphins, Bengals. Besides like Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow, like there are going to be some random guys on the Bengals. And here's the other thing in the NFL. Like you don't necessarily play just because you played in the Big Ten, like majority of those guys don't play in the NFL. Look at the NFL draft. You got guys coming, Green Bay takes a dude from North Dakota State. There's a guy from Montana State that gets drafted in the second round. There's a dude from Wyoming that gets, guys from that Herbstreit would never in a million years call one of their games. And now he's going to have to learn it. It's going to be fascinating. So if you were looking for Atlanta Falcons game-by-game breakdown, you probably came to the wrong show. And I'll get into it as the year goes. But really, let's face it. Here's the one thing about the schedule that I think can be a little overrated is like I just assume Seattle's going to suck. Well, what if they win? What if I told you they win 8-9? That means every single fan that sees Seattle, every single fan that has a decent team or above, that sees Seattle on their schedule, they're going, win. Just like every team that sees, half the teams now that saw Green Bay on their schedule with Devontae gone, no offensive weapons, you're going, yeah, we could beat them. Last year you might have gone, oh, that's an L. And then you see like a team like the Jags or the Jets. Every single, like if you're a fan of the Ravens, of Tampa, of the Colts, if you play those teams, Jags or the Jets, you're going, win. What if I told you that one of those two teams goes, like I said, 8-9? That means they are doubling their win total. So like half those games last year that you look up when you're on the couch on Sunday afternoon and they're down 30, they're winning that game this year. Or they're winning some of those games. So that's the cool part about the NFL. We know the turnover rate. It's not the NBA or baseball. Like for the most part, the same teams in baseball go to the playoffs most of the time. The basketball, I mean, I know they've added the play-in game, so it's changed a little bit, but like when the season starts, we got a pretty good idea. I mean, Warriors are going to be good. The Suns are going to be good. Nuggets are going to be good. The Jazz are going to be good. The Celtics are going to be good. The Heat are going to be good. That's not the way it works in football. Everyone's like, oh, Ravens last year win the Super Bowl. And they don't even make the playoffs. Browns, this is their year. Nope, not even close. So that's what's cool about the NFL. It's why the league's on top for a lot of reasons. Obviously, the scarcity of it, the way we gamble. But we just don't know. Like, if you're a Jets fan right now, If I told you, you guys have a really good year, and that might be 8-8, 8-9, or 9-8, but if you had a 9-8 season, can you imagine how much fun that season would be? Like, eventually some of these teams, like the Bills became the Bills, like the first year they were good under Josh Allen. And even he had a long way to go, but I think they went like 9-7, right? Some of these teams are going to have those years. And some of the teams, like the Arizona Cardinals, they went from a team that, like, how good are they going to be to last year win 11 games? Well, now, are they an 11-win team, or are they a 5-win team, or are they a 7-win team? To me, their variance is by far the biggest in the league. They have a ton of talent. If you told me they'd make the playoffs, completely believe you. If you told me they missed the playoffs by 3 games, very believable. No freaking clue. Atlanta Falcons stink. Carolina Panthers, not going to be any good. Titans, they'll be solid. Are they going to be the 1 seed? No. Do I expect them to make the playoffs as long as Mike Vrabel's their coach? I do. Now, the AFC is really good. Deshaun Watson, when does he get suspended? How good does Matt Ryan still have something left? So all that stuff, like, it's easy to go win, loss, win. But until we actually get to the season, we're like, oh, shit, Matt Ryan is toast. Or damn, Matt Ryan's got a lot left. That's the cool part of pro sports. It's the greatest reality television show that we'll ever have. Thanks for watching 3 and Out. You can check out the podcast below in the description. And make sure you subscribe right now to the Volumes YouTube channel.